All right, so 5 or 10 years in the future, well, today we're something we call the networked public. I don't know if you know that, or you don't know if you describe yourself as that, but in the future we'll be something I like to call the super networked public, where the semantic web services will, while we talk to one service, they'll go off and talk to other services. They'll come back and tell us what we want. So we'll go and say, I'm looking for a book, and it'll come back and say, I actually check with another website. You don't buy books. Here, have a coffee. This web of things, everything will be linked, addressed, and what will happen is that lots of services will start making decisions for us and about us, and they'll directly affect us, and then there'll still be us, as John mentioned this morning. We'll still just be people wanting to go about our lives and do our thing. And what I'm going to talk about just really briefly is about what we call digital citizenry as a way of actually deciding what our lives will be like in 5 or 10 years' time. So to do that, I'm going to pick up lots and lots of things that were talked about today. I feel like I'm wrapping up, but I did write this earlier. Look, it's typed out. Word processor, not typewriter. I know that was mentioned earlier today. I'm going to talk about trust. I'm going to talk about the balance or the symmetry, I think Adam described it as. Also, we'll just cover cigarettes and Will Smith for no obvious reason. A few months ago, I chatted with John Key in the green room at TV3 here in Wellington, and I'm not telling you that to name drop. If I was, I'd talk to you about my visit to Cairo where I met Susan Mubarak, but I'm not name dropping. I'm telling you that because meeting John Key and talking to him in that way was a very New Zealand experience. You can just bump into the Prime Minister and you can have a chat. And when you do, despite the fact that he is the Prime Minister with all the powers that come with that and the authority, there's actually a balance between you and him. Because this is a democracy, the citizens respect the government so long as the government respects the citizens, and all of that's underpinned by trust. Right? And in this country, you can trust your vote will be reliably counted. The judiciary is mostly totally independent. Our business... Just a typo, I didn't... It's honest. Our businesses mostly do the right thing, and I've found you can't reliably bribe your way out of trouble. And New Zealanders have grown up in this environment. Totally, we've raised in this environment. In 2009, an organisation called Transparency International ranked us least corrupt country in the world. And it's not one of those awards we usually win, in the Southern Hemisphere or per capita or divided by GDP or anything like that. Least in the world. And the problem is, we, Kiwis, are taking that trusting attitude with us into the information age, where the parameters are very different. Everything went really somber, was it for a moment there? Oh my God, are we? Yes, information technology transcends geographical boundaries and traditional structures, and we need to adjust. And this morning, Jeffrey used a very similar quote to this, the 1887 quote by Lord Acton: "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men." So, who are these powerful people we should now be wary of who may become bad people? This being the information age, controlling information is the new power. Power will reside with the companies that generate, index, store, collate, and present information. Like, for example, Facebook, Google, or Trade Me. I added that in when I knew you were here, John. So, should we be worried? Is Lord Acton telling us not to trust Facebook, not to trust Google or Trade Me? I mean, Facebook helps you connect and share with people in your life, which is nice. And we all know that Google has the mantra, don't be evil. So, I mean, who can argue with that? Well, I can, because I'm here. I've got the microphone. Back in the 1930s, 20 years after the first research linking smoking to cancer, bonded tobacco company marketed their cigarettes with making smoking safe for smokers. Which actually surprised me because I knew that more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. And it wasn't until the late 1990s that tobacco companies accepted publicly that cigarettes were unhealthy, and that shock horror, they were addictive. So, I don't actually think it's fair to compare the 48-hour Google Buzz experiment with the great cigarette lie, or suggest that Facebook is trying to addict its users, but there is an important point buried in all these poorly linked metaphors, and that is, we can't rely on them to look after us. They look after themselves. If looking after us looks after them, they'll look after us. I had to actually read that as I went because it actually got quite complicated. If trampling on us becomes good for them, then we'd better be ready. And that's where the concept of digital citizenry comes in. Being a digital citizen is about being able to look after yourself, and it's about understanding how digital society works and making the most of the opportunities that it provides. The term digital citizen is replacing an older concept many of you will be familiar with, digital immigrants and digital natives. The idea with that was that people raised in a pre-digital world found digital technology hard to grasp, and those raised in a digital world quickly grasped technology. The problem is that people were using their immigrant status as an excuse to their technical illiteracy. But I'd like to point out the personal computer was launched by IBM in 1981, so digital immigrants have had nearly 30 years to assimilate. The excuse is wearing out. However, the digital immigrants versus natives model did highlight the new imbalance that is developing in society around digital skills and literacy. So now some good news. Anybody can be a digital citizen. Digital citizenry is a combination of digital literacy and the values of our society. Just like the relationship between citizens and the government, a strong digital citizenry keeps the information power brokers in check. And that is the new balance of the digital age. In some way, hackers are the ultimate digital citizens. And hacking is, of course, a broad categorization. We tend to think of hackers as bad people who break into computer systems to steal information, and that's because some hackers are bad people who break into computer systems to steal information. So let me say on the record that bad people who break into computer systems to steal information are not the ultimate digital citizens. They do not make a positive contribution to a digital society. They are actually crooks. But of course, not all hackers are crooks. Just because people have the skills to break open computer systems doesn't mean they will use those for criminal activity. Having that level of ability gives them more options. So remember that movie with Tom Cruise, Minority Report, who waves the things around? Everywhere he goes, computers look in his eyes, you know, and they give him advertising and things like that. So he gets his eyes transplanted. In Men in Black, Will Smith has his fingerprints burned off so he can drop off the grid. And in Gattaca, Ethan Hawke's character borrows another person's skin, hair, and urine. So his DNA won't out him as an invalid, that's a term from the movie, and ruin his astronaut dreams. Now these are all just scenarios from science fiction movies, but the characters take these extreme actions because they want to do something that the system doesn't want them to do. Ethan goes off to become an astronaut, Tom Cruise clears his name from a crime he didn't commit, and Will Smith saves the Earth from an Achillean battle cruiser. I think. I should have researched that. Just one quick Google, I would have known. Look, so the point is, you don't have to be a hacker to be an effective digital citizen. It's about having the skills to shape your digital environment. When the semantic web says to you, we have calculated that you are this, you like this, and you want this, digital citizens will be able to say, actually, no, I want that. When the information brokers are saying, this is how we've decided to shape your world, you can say, no, I'd like it this way. People with low levels of technical expertise simply won't have the choice. They'll get this, they'll like this, and they'll want this, and they'll never really know why. So, in conclusion, my point is the key to ensuring that there is trust and balance in the digital society is creating a capable digital citizenry. How life will be in 10 years' time is absolutely up to you.